Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cabincast. Just Cabincast this time because we're doing a review. I'm Thomas. It's Cabincast review. Sorry, forget that. It is actually Cabincast reviews now.
We've
But
not
yeah.
done one of these together in a long time.
We've done the format has
maybe.
changed.
We've usually done Rambles because I've already done a review of someone else.
Yeah, usually. So we are here to do a review of Jurassic World Dominion.
Fact, this is Cabincast Rambles because I did already give my thoughts. No, I didn't. Okay, I'm going to shut up and grab a drink. Tom's going to talk you through stuff, and I'll be back later.
Ollie's here, by the way.
Yeah,
so yeah, he's off to go get a drink because it's hot and pain. And today we are going to talk about Jurassic World Dominion. Jurassic World series, the reboot of the wildly popular Jurassic Park series, a movie series that changed the public's opinion on dinosaurs for the better, and now has gone on for so long that its depictions are horribly, horribly outdated. It is the grand finale, or at least I hope it's the grand finale, of the Jurassic Park series. And it is treated that way in the plot, at least, as far as I'm concerned. And so we're going to go through this, I think, probably quite rigidly, because if we don't, I'm going to end up talking about only the dinosaurs forever. And while that would be a fun conversation, it would also get exceedingly boring as I go through every minute detail of how the dinosaurs are right and wrong. So yeah, I saw this in theatres. I presume Ollie also saw this in theatres. It's not as if this came out when we were much younger, like the original Jurassic Parks, which meant we wouldn't be able to see them in theatres, so we would have seen them on TV. So I guess let's just talk quickly about the cast while we wait for Ollie. So we got Chris Pratt back as Owen Grady, and that's obviously good because Chris Pratt is amazing. Bryce Dallas Howard as Claire Dearing, back in an acting role. We've been seeing her a lot in directing and writing roles for Star Wars, actually, recently.
Yeah, she's really, really good.
So it's good to have her back in an acting role. And once again, actually, I think she's done her best work with this one. I like
you might
Claire
be right.
more here than certainly than in Fallen Kingdom, and definitely than in Jurassic World, although she wasn't meant to be really likable in Jurassic World until the end. Then the big news with this, we get Lauren Dern back as Dr. Ellie Sattler, who is amazing.
Yep.
These are all going to be amazing. Jeff Goldblum as Dr. Ian Malcolm.
Yep.
Back actually for not just a cameo this time, which is also amazing. And we get Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant, which is also amazing. Our new cast member is DeWanda Wise as Kyla Watts, who's a former Air Force pilot. She's the one who gets them to Biosyn Valley, I think is what they end up calling it.
Yeah.
I think we also get the returning actor for
Henry Wu?
Yeah, we get the returning actor for Henry Wu, but I think we also get the returning actor for Lewis Dodson.
For Lewis Dodson. It could well be, yeah.
Sure. I will check this quickly. I might be wrong, though. It looks like I'm wrong. I am wrong. That's a shame, but he does look very similar to Dodson from his original showing in the. Well, he wasn't even named as Dodson, to be fair, in the original Jurassic Park, but that was Dodson in the original Jurassic Park who goes up to Nedry. And we've also got Isabel Sermon as Maisie Lockwood, who again is very good in this, and I think it's again her best work in the trilogy. Although again, she wasn't in the first one, I suppose. We also get oh, forgive me, I'm gonna struggle with that name. Mamadodo?
Yes.
Something like that. Actually, I really apologise. As Ramsey Cole, head of communications at Biosyn and the traitor,
Indeed.
to use a Star Wars term, to Biosyn. Another amazing actor who performs another amazing role.
It was great.
As the protege of Dr. Ian Malcolm. Everything with him was simply amazing. I wish we actually saw more of him.
I agree.
We got Omar Sy back as Barry Sibline, who was the former animal trainer in the first movie, who now works as a French intelligence agent, which is amazing.
That was pretty fun as well.
And I do believe we get we get Justice Smith back as Franklin Webb, who was one of the dinosaur rights activists, who then joins the FBI, I think. And Daniela Pindé, who I believe comes back as the veterinarian, who was briefly in the previous one. I think she was, at least. Let me just check that. She was briefly in there. We also get Scott Hayes, who is also good.
Yes,
he's the poacher who catches Maisie. So that's the rough cast list. All of those actors I very much enjoy, and I don't think there was any particularly weak performances here. Certainly, no one was let down. Well, we'll get to the script and the writing in a minute, but no one let themselves down through their acting, because it was, once again, many of these people are experienced actors, and those that aren't are working around experienced actors. And it feels like there was a lot of passion going into this project, which is something that I actually want to point out, because a lot of people who are really into dinosaurs and really into them being accurate have gone, well, it hasn't got passion, it's not got a passion project, it's not 100% accurate, so to our current understanding, so it doesn't work. No, I disagree. There's actually a lot of passion that's been put into this. There's a lot of thought as well. There's a lot of themes that have continued from the first two in this particular trilogy, Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Theories around control, genetic manipulation, use of animals in the military or as assassins, as we actually see in this come to fruition.
It's pretty terrifying.
It is pretty terrifying. So let's just quickly talk about the plot. So it's 4 years after the Lockwood Estate incident, where we get probably one of the worst decisions in Jurassic World history. Jurassic Park history.
Yep, that's true.
Release all the dinosaurs into the United States, and amazingly enough, and out of nowhere, this has caused an ecological disaster. Who would have thought?
Yeah. To be fair, not the girl who let them out.
Yeah. And in response, we get the rise of Biosyn. Now, Biosyn is interesting. It's in the original Jurassic Park books. It's actually the original bad guy of the second book. Because it's mentioned in the first book that Biosyn is trying to catch up. We get Lewis Dodson's interaction in the book with Nedry, and that's a bit more nuanced than we see in the original movie, because Nedry's has more reasons to be unruly, put it that way, because Hammond is less of nice old grandpa and more just an arsehole in that book. And then something actually interesting happened, because the Lost World book came out after the Lost World movie.
Yeah, interestingly, yeah.
Which is a bit weird. And as a result, the plot lines vary massively. In the movie, it's InGen trying to recoup losses. In the book, it's Biosyn, I believe, trying to crowd in on some of InGen's lost profits, because they have that second island. And Lewis Dodson becomes a bit of a main character in that, and he actually ends up dying in that. that didn't happen in the main book series, and we're now coming full circle because we now get Biosyn, which is run by Lewis Dodson now. Wasn't originally.
Yeah.
Stepping in as the benefactor and the next in the long list of companies that have tried to do stuff with dinosaurs. We've had InGen, we've had Medrani, and now we have Biosyn. Establishing a dinosaur preserve in Italy, which, okay, I guess the Italian government agreed to that.
Sure, I guess they did.
With, I will say, a very nice building, and there is some issues that I have with that complex, but I'll talk about that later.
It looks, however, for the Jurassic World kind of universe, it looks exactly like the kind of thing that would exist.
Yeah. Basically, to look into, ostensibly to look into pharmaceuticals and that type of stuff, but in reality, he's being the evil businessman again. Meanwhile, our main characters are off in Alaska because they need to hide Maisie because the whole world is looking for the clone.
Yeah.
Because that's actually, quite an important breakthrough.
Certainly is, yeah.
And Maisie's obviously now older. She's more independent. She wants to be able to spread her wings, go out into the world. And of course, she can't do that. She's stuck inside, and you get that classic teenage conflict where it's like, no, you can't go out.
But I know,
outside,
but I want to.
But I want to.
It'll be fine, and then it's not fine.
Very predictably,
leads
to issues when she gets nabbed by the poachers, along with Blue's daughter, who apparently was asexually reproduced, which is a thing that just happens in Jurassic Park. So I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really surprised.
No. I did like that whole kind of plotline as well. It was quite sweet.
Yeah. Oh, they called it beta. That's nice. I'm sure that's not going to have any random connotations.
It shouldn't, because the internet is dumb. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get our first original character. We get Dr. Ellie Sattler dealing with a sudden infestation of giant locusts.
Which, I'll be honest, all the dinosaurs in this are really cool, but really scary. The locusts are so much worse. I'd much rather deal with a dinosaur than these locusts. Oh my god.
That was horrifying and unexpected. I'm not gonna lie.
No,
I'm pretty sure there is giant locusts in the fossil record, by the way.
I know. It's like, think ones these big don't exist.
No,
but locusts get big, and they do this.
Yeah,
and that's just unpleasant.
Yeah, and it pretty much becomes very clear what Biosyn is doing, because they say, oh look, now it's destroyed all our crops, and then Dr. Sattler looks over and is like, well, why hasn't it destroyed those crops? And the reason is very clearly because it hang on, I've just got food randomly through the door.
There's some kind of
it's a Biosyn crop.
Yeah, there's some kind of thing in the Biosyn crops, which,
because I'm going to leave you to continue explaining. I'm just going to do a few things.
That's fine. So it's very clear. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the Biosyn crops are fine. That's a bit odd. But obviously, this huge business company, no one's really paying much attention to farmers to do much about it. But obviously, the Biosyn crops and locusts were engineered by the same people. It's all Biosyn. And they're basically just taking up the market by getting everyone to use Biosyn crops, because otherwise you're going to go broke, because you're going to have no crops left anymore. But those locusts are still going to exist afterwards and do something. So it's both a problem for just, economic freedom and not being manipulated by a massive conglomerate, and also locusts everywhere, rather than the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are a problem. But there aren't tremendous numbers of them, at least yet, and they could be somewhat dealt with. There's still a lot, but not a lot. Whereas these locusts are, the amount of them is growing and expanding at a humongous rate, and it's very bad for everyone involved.
Hello, I'm back. Where are we?
Still locusts. I was just explaining how they're, the dinosaurs are a problem, but they aren't reproducing millions of times a minute.
Yeah. So yeah, basically we now have Mega Locust problem. So Dr. Sattler goes and recruits Dr. Alan Grant for help and tells him that they have, via Dr. Malcolm, who is lecturing at lecturing at Biosyn's facility, to go there to investigate, which is a really fun way of getting those three back together.
Yeah, it's really great. I again, like, I don't even have a massive amount of obviously we weren't alive when they came out, and I think I've only seen Jurassic Park 2 and 3 like once. So I don't have a massive amount of nostalgia for them, even for the first one. But all I needed really was those three to be together and it not to be completely horrendous, and I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't completely horrendous, so that's, a plus if anything, because the three of them together were great.
Yeah. So while they're heading off to go get to the I think they said the island again. It's not the island. It's the valley.
It is a valley.
We get
it may as well be an island because it's isolated. But
we get Owen and Claire blackmailing the CIA's dinosaur unit into telling them where Maisie and Beta was via one of their associates. And they head to Malta, which is, by the way, a nice representation for an underrepresented area. I love Malta.
Yeah,
Malta is a nice place.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Malta happens to also be the center of the dinosaur black market in Europe, while weird, is also hilarious. We get the introduction of our new character. Hang on, I'll get her name quickly. Kayla Watts, who's the pilot who's flown in Beta and I can't say that with a straight face. Beta and Maisie, and handed them off to Biosyn. Oh no, she flew in the Raptor, but then saw Maisie as well.
Yeah.
And Claire obviously goes and confronts her and says, "Look, I'm looking for help. Can you please help me?" Meanwhile, there's more deals going on, and we get reintroduced. We get Owen Grady reintroducing himself and meeting Barry again, basically, and teaming up with the French to try and take down the operation of the lady who's selling stuff. I forget her name.
Me too, but she was despicable.
Yes, she was, which was exactly what she was supposed to be.
Absolutely.
She set a bunch of Atrociraptors on Owen, on Barry, and on Claire eventually.
Which are like raptors, but more atrocious.
We're going to talk about Atrociraptor in a minute because there is a thing, and we've actually seen Atrociraptors in Prehistoric Planet. It's one of. It's really nice of them actually to include it because it allows us to do a nice comparison between the two, from the ones in the movie and the ones outside of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But if we completely ignore that for now, they escape via the help of Kayla Watts.
Yep.
And they go to fly to Italy to try and get Maisie back. Meanwhile, we get some more stuff with Ian Malcolm and Sattler and Grant as they arrive, they discuss stuff, there's a conversation with Dodson, and Dodson is a really good villain in this, I found. I liked what they did with Dodson with this.
It's very clever because the guy last time was a similar villain.
Mm-hmm.
But also not.
Yeah, it feels a lot more believable almost with him. Instead of like the ridiculousness of I'm going to sell all these dinosaurs on the black market in an auction, it's sort of like, okay. And I've also created like a super bad hybrid that is definitely not going to break out and kill everyone. Oh no, it's broken out and killed everyone.
That's the hubris of man. They're both mustache twirly, but yeah, this guy felt like more accurate mustache twirly to real life than he did.
He also felt a bit more manipulative because he definitely did want to be seen as the good guy.
Oh yeah. The other guy kind of kept to himself, whereas this guy was like, no, I'm the good guy and I'm helping everyone, but I'm not helping everyone.
Yeah. So they have their chats. We have a really fun gag with, I think, a Starbucks that's just there, which I actually kind of liked, where they're talking about all the different types of coffee that they can have. And
lots of the humour was also on point in this film.
Yeah, particularly between those three, I felt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ian hands off a key card for level 6 that he
Mhm.
presumably got from his protege,
Indeed.
Franklin.
Hmm.
And they, not Franklin, what's his name? Ramsey.
That's the one.
And Grant and Sattler go down into the things and go to start looking for stuff. Maisie arrives as well, and she goes to see Dr. Wu, who explains that yes, Bison did create the locusts, and they're out of control, and the only way to stop them now is with something in Maisie's DNA. She then rather quickly escapes after that and finds Sattler and Grant, who have just taken all the evidence they need to prove that it was Biosyn that's releasing the locust. And then with the assistance of Ramsey, they begin to escape. And then everything sort of begins falling apart for all the plans of escaping and that, because we get the arrival of Owen and the team on the plane as they fly in to try and save Maisie. At the same time, they realize that Sattler and Grant are gone.
Yeah.
And Dodson confronts Malcolm. There's a really cool scene with Malcolm where they're going backwards and forwards on this type of stuff, and they end up disabling the system that keeps the pterosaurs from killing everyone, basically.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, the pterosaurs immediately start to kill everyone.
They do.
They go immediately after the plane. We get Quetzalcoatlus. We get a really ham-fisted explanation of what a Quetzalcoatlus is.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
It's enough for the average viewer, absolutely.
It's a Quetzalcoatlus.
Yeah, it's cool.
Is it how I would have preferred the Quetzalcoatlus to be used? I'll talk about that when we go through all the creatures in this. But it's a very cool scene. It's visually stunning. Yeah. They end up deciding that Claire needs to eject because they only have the one ejection seat.
Yeah.
Because they don't know if they're going to survive, and if anyone needs to survive, it's Claire as Maisie's foster mum.
Yep.
In effect.
Mm-hmm. Also, just to double back real quick, the kind of, I'd say, polite discussion between Malcolm and Dodson is great.
Yeah.
Because Dodson seemed very in control of everything he's done up until this point, and then Malcolm's just like has so much more presence. Yeah, and everyone just listens to him so much more. It's so good. But anyway,
it's amazing.
She ejects, which honestly, with all those pterodons, is
probably
kind
a
of worse.
poor idea. Yeah,
I hated it again. It was like, this is so stressful. This giant death birds, not birds, but you know.
Yeah, giant death birds, giant death stalks. I think it was more the pteranodons that went after her, which sort of make a bit more sense.
You're right.
Because the Quets kept on attacking the plane. Anyway, the plane crash lands, and we go back to Maisie and and the old gang as they're like going through there, and they're going through the Hyperloop. And I will talk about the Hyperloop because that annoyed me for no other reason other than the fact that it's a Hyperloop. But they get stopped and they end up having to get out, and it's some caves, and they go through the caves, and it's really scary, and you see like a fin that made me think, oh, Spinosaurus, but then it wasn't Spinosaurus, it was Dimetrodon.
It was Dimetrodon again.
Which isn't a dinosaur, but it was cool.
It's so cool, yeah.
And they actually did Dimetrodon quite decently. The same with the Quets, actually. They did both those animals fairly decently.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100%, but a lot better than some of the other creatures in this.
Sure.
The Dimetrodon also, I believe, are shown to be semi-aquatic in this because they come out of the water, which is interesting because there has been theories.
Like I was going to say, I can see that based on their design, but their design's completely made up. So because like you get some like not frogs, but some lizards that are semi-aquatic that have kind of the frilly things. I think.
I don't think it's something that people consider wholeheartedly, but there is theories out there for one or two of the species. Maybe
it's not completely outlandish.
Yeah, it's not completely outlandish. It's within the realm of speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike another semi-aquatic animal, which we're getting to, they get out of the caves thanks to Ian Malcolm, who I say thanks to Ian Malcolm, not thanks to Ian Malcolm. he was useless.
He was trying, but he was useless.
He was trying. It was good old Ramsey Cole who actually ended up saving the day there.
The
But
tension with him was I was always worried either he was going to be a triple crosser or he was going to get caught.
yeah, which was
But
cool.
He was in control the whole time. It was great.
They end up obviously escaping, and they have to try and find their way back to the facility. Meanwhile, we get an amazing scene with Claire, which has Jurassic Park 3 vibes, except survival this time.
Yeah.
And with a Therizinosaurus, which was very good for certain reasons that we'll discuss when we get to Therizinosaurus. Not the design, but the actual way it behaved. Very tense scene. Ends up escaping from it.
Yeah.
And then we go to Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And I said Chris Pratt, Owen Grady, and there's so many characters. It's Carla Watts.
Yeah.
They've crashed the plane. They managed to get
Yeah.
out, and then there's a Pyroraptor there, and I have things to say about this Pyroraptor. I'm not happy. This is probably this and another dinosaur have me very irritated. But
Which
they
Tom's
have
going to do a separate video on because of the time
Probably.
constraints we're on. So Tom's going to record that himself and send me the footage.
No, we'll do it in. I'll be very brief. Okay, I promise.
Doubt you will.
I promise I will be very brief, and I'll only focus on the ones because I'm not going to focus on the Velociraptor and T-Rex and stuff we've already seen before. Okay,
Fair.
or stuff that we only see for a few moments because there's no point.
Sure, they deal with that problem.
Okay, they deal with that problem. It annoys me, but moving on, they go down into the facility. Well, they don't go down into the city. They go down into the forest, and they all meet up. There's the Metrodon, not the Metrodons. There's Dilophosaurus there, which we get to see again, but they frighten them off, and then we get the Giganotosaurus, who basically acts as a psychopath in this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of
Just
great.
Showing up just to ruin everybody's day. There's a cool scene with that, and they get away from it, and they go back to the main facility. They find Wu, and they get angry at him, but then he reveals some of the past behind Maisie, which is that Maisie is actually a clone of her mother, but her mother actually wanted her as a clone. It wasn't her grandfather who did it, which is a cool twist.
Yeah, I did like that.
And he explains how they're going to fix it. It's not really important. Basically, there's something in Maisie's DNA which will kill all of the locusts, and he can synthesize it and save the world, which is what they were here to do anyway. So, whatever. So they all come along. Ramsey reveals that he's the traitor to Dodson. They capture Beta, who's been running around this entire time. And then we have the final fight, which is between T-Rex and Giganotosaurus. Giganotosaurus wins, but then the Therizinosaurus shows up.
Which is can't even see.
Can't even see.
Accidentally gets a kill.
Accidentally gets a kill thanks to the assistance of the Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah.
It
was so dumb, but also classic Jurassic.
Yeah, classic Jurassic Park. They escape
Yeah.
in a helicopter, which, by the way, this movie has a weird obsession with planes.
They do
There's
like planes and helicopters and stuff.
So many in it for some reason. And it's the only one that's actually made up in the entire movie.
Yeah.
But it's like got tilt rotors and it's really cool. And they escape, and then actually they go to a filming location close to us because there is an airport fairly close to us with a bunch of BA planes which were bought off BA. That's British Airways, my dad's company, for those who are not aware. I say my dad's company, the company my dad works for. That they paint up the movies, and you can actually see one of them in the background, which was an interesting little thing. Just a plane that my dad had worked on at one point made its way into Jurassic World Dominion. Just sitting over there in the background, painted in biosyn colours. But it was cool.
Yeah.
And then we get a quick, brief explanation of what happens to everyone. Grant and Sattler finally get the happily ever after. Owen and Claire and Maisie go back to Alaska. Malcolm gets to be Malcolm, which is great. And Henry Wu fixes the world and hopefully has now learned his lesson about genetic manipulation.
Hopefully. It does seem like he finally has after 6 movies.
Yeah. before we go on to talk about more thoughts on like the music and then give our ratings, I'm going to quickly go through some of the dinosaurs. One, Giganotosaurus. Cool design. They clearly designed it to look different from T-Rex. It's not very accurate. It acts like a typical movie villain. Moving on. Quetzalcoatlus. Actually surprisingly accurate. Love the use of pycnofibers. Would have absolutely loved it if they had shown it on the ground, which it would have been for the majority of time. And can you imagine the terror of that on the ground in like mist?
Yeah.
That would have been horrifying. And
I almost wonder if one of the reasons they didn't do that is because people would have thought it was unrealistic and dumb.
Maybe, potentially, but
because it does look so unnatural. But I agree, that would have been terrifying.
It would have been really cool. It would have been a better scene replacement for the next one. Pyroraptor definitely wasn't semi-aquatic in any way.
Yeah, I had a feeling that might
and
be
it really annoys me that they tried to do that. There were so many other... If they wanted a semi-aquatic raptor that was the right size, Ostroraptor exists.
Mm-hmm.
There is literally a raptor you could use. I want to beat them over the head with this. And it was also in the film, so they could say, oh, we have a feathered raptor now. It's like, no.
Yeah. It looked cool.
We're beyond that with Jurassic Park. Atrociraptor looks really similar to the Velociraptor in Jurassic, in that series. Despite not being either a Velociraptoran and the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park series actually being more closely related to Dromaeosaurs because they look like Dromaeosaur. Yeah. That's the family Dromaeosauridae, not the Dromaeosaurids, the overall group. Basically, it's a completely different subdivision of Dromaeosaurs when compared to Velociraptor, and neither of them look like they're separate, they're supposed families. Still a cool design, still good movie monsters. Therizinosaurus, very meh on the design. However, showing it as a herbivore that was exceedingly aggressive was a good thing because it shows that herbivores can also be cool.
Yeah.
And also
felt like it was a serial killer.
Very dangerous. Also making it blind, which gives it a reason to be on edge.
Yeah.
At one point, and the only reason I'm mentioning this, it's the only one that's sort of in it briefly.
Mm-hmm, sure.
That I'm going to mention. They mention Mors Intrepidus, and they say it's a 100% accurate depiction of Mors Intrepidus. This was the other big dinosaur peeve of this movie. No, you don't get to claim that it's 100% accurate. We only have a femur bone.
We don't know what exactly it is.
Literally, we have a femur bone of Morris Intrepidus. That is all we have. It is impossible to say if that is an accurate depiction of Morris Intrepidus.
So either there should be a little asterisk, or they're playing the long game, and in 50 years' time, we're going to be like, oh, turns out Jurassic World Dominion got a spot on. That's concerning.
Yeah. Dinosaur rant over. That's what I think about the majority of the major dinosaurs in this. Most of the other dinosaurs about Jurassic Park we've already talked about before. There's no reason going over the actions with T-Rex and all that sort of stuff. We all know it.
So time for my thoughts on the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I thought the dinosaurs looked like dinosaurs. And they were cool and they served the plot. I am horrendous at telling CG from non-CG. Obviously, the dinosaurs are all CG, but from that perspective, to me, they all look great. I think they were utilized
puppets actually.
Oh, also awesome if they did that because I haven't checked or anything. But that
mostly
would make sense.
The ones in the Malta.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, like the Atrociraptors were terrifying. It was always great to see Rexy. But yeah, all the dinosaurs were cool. I think they were used for what they were supposed to be, not necessarily what they would actually do. They were used really well in all the scenes that they were in. And they were great movie monsters, which is what
their purpose in the Jurassic Park
series.
To
see. Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
also to note that they do show that paleontology is continuing in the Jurassic Park series, which clearly means that there is almost certainly a paleontological precedent going, no, the Jurassic Park dinosaurs that you see today are not actual dinosaurs, they're just genetic monstrosities. Let us continue with our work.
That would honestly be quite a funny series to watch.
Yeah, it would. It would be very hilarious to watch. Watching a really pissed off paleontologist trying to do a dig, and then all of a sudden a Triceratops comes up and is like, oh look, it's a Triceratops, and then he's like, no, that's not a Triceratops. It doesn't even look like one.
Yeah.
We do get a little bit of that with Alan Grant in this series. I think some of his dig site employees were, I don't know, on their phone, not doing anything.
Yeah, it did seem like that. Or he had like kids or something who just did not care.
Yeah. Owen Grant.
But anyway,
I said
beyond the
Owen
plot
Grant.
and the
Not Owen
dinosaurs,
Grant,
everything.
Alan Grant.
Alan, I thought Owen. No, because Owen Brady.
I am all over the place. Anyway, let's talk about some music. Classic Jurassic Park music.
It's great. Yep, great soundtrack.
Very good.
Very tense or very like not awe-inspiring, but like got that sense of wonder. And you've got some great moments of when everyone came back together and stuff.
Oh yeah, I think we forgot to mention that Biosyn's the leader of Biosyn.
Oh, he got killed by the thingy things.
He got killed by the Dilophosauruses in a direct reference to Nedry. Yeah. It was very good.
We also skipped over a bit where the lady team goes and gets the power back on.
Yes.
While the others just shout at them, and that was really fun and really cool to see them kick ass as well. So.
Yep. It was all very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall as a movie, it once again works as a B movie. It's very similar to in Fallen Kingdom in that way. It's a fun action movie. Mm-hmm. But if you think about the plot a bit too much, you begin to start poking holes into it. And I've seen this mentioned in a lot of reviews where they say, oh, well, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense. It's a movie that I argue you shouldn't be.
No, if you're doing that, you're in the wrong place.
You're in the wrong place. This opinion is different with something like, for example, like Star Wars. With Star Wars, because it's such a big series and it's such a big thing, I sort of expect at least
what?
They need to be for that. It's a very utilitarian plot. What?
Yeah. You cut out briefly, I think, but it's fine.
Okay. Basically, it's a very utilitarian plot. It wants to be get some saying things. There are a few moments of shaky dialogue, particularly I found when they just decided that they needed to explain certain dinosaurs.
Yeah, it was very much, if regular people don't know what this is,
we'll throw in a quick explanation here so that they get a vague understanding, which is fine, but yeah, it wasn't quite as good as the rest of it.
Yeah. My argument with that is with every movie previous to this, they've just sort of either said the name or they've just sort of left it vague and allowed people to search it up on their own. And that's been fine. I don't know if it was because they were afraid that they were using particularly vague animals. For example, Quetzalcoatlus, while probably the most famous of the Asdarkids, the Asdarkids have only recently entered the paleontological communities.
People are going to have no idea what an Asdarkid is, let alone
widespread stream. They haven't really permeated popular culture yet. Still, seeing that massive bird on there would have been massive pterosaur on there would have been a good incentive for people to go look into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas now they have, instead, a ham-fisted explanation. It's a Quetzalcoatlus, it's the largest thing that ever flew. And it's like, okay. And I think they also used the full Latin name for Quetzalcoatlus as well, which just stunned me. I mean, yeah, it's cool. I don't know whether that's because Quetzalcoatlus is now a multi-species genus, because it has two now. Quetzalcoatlus, it's its own one, the first one found, which is the massive one, and there's now a little itty small one. So now we have Big Death Crow / Stork and Little Death Stork, one that wouldn't have been able to eat a human, but still would have been able to eat Buddy.
Oh no,
Buddy! I like to remind my sister every time we watch this movie. Torturing my sister aside, with animals that can't actually hurt us anymore, this movie is a good bit of fun. Ollie, you alright?
Yeah, I'm still here.
It's just your thing was like on and off. But anyway, as I was saying, it's a good piece of fun. It's good. It's very interesting. If you don't think hard about it, it works.
Absolutely.
And there's a plot that revolves around, on one side, trying to stop the world from ending, and on the other side, Maisie's own struggle with who she is, which is done far better here than in Fallen Kingdom, it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why I actually rate this above Fallen Kingdom. I think this is better than Fallen Kingdom.
I think I'd agree.
Which leaves Fallen Kingdom as the worst of the Jurassic World trilogy. Not the worst overall. That does still go to Jurassic Park 3. Although there are some fun things with that. A few minor dinosaur disappointments, which I'll just add. I'm a bit sad we didn't see the also psychopathic Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 in this. It would have been cool to see that.
Yeah.
And it would have been cool to see more dinosaurs, non-dinosaurs, because we only really get Lystrosaurus and a tiny bit of Mosasaurus at the start.
Yeah.
And the Dimetrodon. Fun fact about that Mosasaurus, by the way, it attacks the ship MV Saga, which I already knew from something else. It's a fisher boat and Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, you told me that. It was really, really strange, but it's true.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a fishing boat from Deadliest Catch. It's run by Jake Anderson, who, by the way, has one of the best story arcs in Deadliest Catch. Not that you can really call it a story arc; it's real life. But
I was going to say, it's real
great
life,
redemption
right?
story for him. Yeah. So it was cool to see, presumably him and his crew, playing with Jurassic World. I mean, I don't think the Mosasaur could survive in the Bering Sea, but still, cool. And with that, I think I'm going to go give it its rating, and my rating for this would be a solid 7 out of 10 for enjoyment.
I think I would give it the same.
It's a solid movie with
it's great fun.
A utilitarian plot, great characters, actors firing on all cylinders, and classic movie monster action.
Yeah. And it's got it's got the nostalgia there, but it doesn't pull on it massively. You get a few moments here and there, but largely it's just a fun movie, and it's great to see the two teams interacting with each other. And there's a lot of characters. I think it juggles them all really well. Could have done with, I think, a little bit longer for how much it tries to pack in.
Yeah, that's fixed.
It does move pretty quick.
Slightly from what we would call the Rogue One effect here at Cabincast, that I've definitely coined and I'm now forcing everyone to use. But not as much as other movies that we will be discussing in the future.
Yeah. But exactly like you say. A lot of fun. If you're not expecting it to have a super detailed plot or anything, then fair, but...
Fair enough. If you were expecting actual realistic dinosaurs, and I say this as a lover of realistic dinosaurs because I am, at heart, a lover of dinosaurs, it's not the movie for you. It was never going to be the movie for you. If you wanted realistic dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, you should have watched Jurassic Park when it came out in cinemas. Got there in the end.
Indeed.
I really do hope, though, that they don't bring this franchise back for a round 4. Jurassic Park, I think, now needs a rest, and it needs to come back with a fresh eye and perhaps more accurate dinosaurs in a more accurate way. But that's going to have to be 10, maybe even 20 years down the line once this is all in the past.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
But,
we'll see what happens.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. The uploads here are quite behind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.